Well, hello, my friends. It is Thursday, the Thursday before Mother's Day. And so, what I have decided I'm going to do for the next 2 days is tributes, um, Mother's Day tributes, but Mother's Day tributes based off of scripture. Uh, Tomorrow, uh, we'll look at that common proverb that everyone knows. But today we're going to just look at a shorter proverb, and this is going to be a tribute to my mother. My mother was called home to glory last year, April 8th of 2020. And as things go, she was a young woman, only 67. But she, um, she was dealing with a lot. She had gone blind. She had heart issues. She had cancer, and of course, then she caught COVID. So I want to read a brief scripture to you. I'm not even going to bother to share my screen for this one because it's a really short scripture. It's only one verse. And it's Proverbs 23, verse 25. And it says, "May your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave birth to you be joyful. May your father and mother rejoice. May she who gave birth to you be joyful." And where to start with this? Um, my mother and I uh, were very, very different. Uh, I'll talk about this a little bit tomorrow, but it is very interesting in how similar my mother and wife were. Something that I didn't pick up on until we had been married for a while, but there were definitely some similarities there. But because of the differences between my mother and I, that did sometimes cause friction where I like things ordered and structured. My mother was much more spontaneous and didn't necessarily need the order and structure, where I'm more detail oriented. My mother didn't particularly care about details that she didn't think were necessary. Where I like to be in most social situations, I like to be quiet and sometimes would prefer to be unnoticed. That was not my mom. My mom was going to be noticed and expected, if she was with me, that I was going to be noticed as well. But my mom was one who was there when I needed her. Now, that being said, um, let's start with me getting here. I wasn't expected, and I came along at a time when uh, my mom could have just said, "You know what? Let's end this pregnancy." And at times, uh, she thought about that. Again, I wasn't expected, but here I came, several months early, jaundice, and tiny. My nickname was Peanut. The first story my mom tells about me is the fact that the hospital, they lost me. So basically, what happened was I had to stay in the hospital for a week after I was born because I did have jaundice and I was premature and I had all of these things going on. And my mom she called the hospital to come, that she was going to come and pick me up. And the nurse said, "Well, there's no Franklin Ruff here." So my mom tells me the story about how she's breaking several speed laws to get to what was called Hutzel Hospital at the time in Detroit, Michigan, because she wants to know what has happened to her child. It turned out what happened was that the day shift nurse knew that I was going to be discharged. So to help out the uh, evening nurse, she did all the discharge paperwork. So when the evening nurses looking me up, I'm not there because I've been discharged, although I'm still in the nursery. And so that was the first scare that I gave to my mother. Now, there was a period of time when I was really young that mom was dealing with some things. And so she wasn't there. And that's where I would say a great thank you to my aunt Irma, who for a couple of years stepped up, and she was mom to me. She even during this time when we've both been dealing with the loss of my mother, she's been there, and I do have to take the time to say that I appreciate her as well. Maybe next year I'll do a tribute to her also. Uh, but then mom came back, and she was at times stricter than I thought she could be. She needed to be. Another thing I remember is in middle school, seventh grade. I showed her my report card, and I was feeling pretty good about this report card. Now I missed the honor roll by a point, and she's looking at this report card, and she sees a lot of C's on it, and I'm like, well, what's the big deal? A C is average, and my mom says you're better than average in some of these subjects, especially English. And I remember the next day was parent teachers conference, and uh, Mr. Gardner, my seventh grade English teacher, he goes and he's looking at my report card. He's like, "You missed this honor roll by a point. If I had given you that B minus instead of that C, you would have made the honor roll." And I say, "Yeah." And he looks at my mom and he says, "You know what? I'm going to give him this B. But Franklin's problem is that he does just enough." And I remember the conversation my mom had afterwards. She said, "There are going to be some times that you get that C and you worked really hard for it. And I'm going to be just as proud of you. But if you get the C and you could have gotten a B or you couldn't have gotten an A, then that's not good enough because you want to do better than just enough." And that was something that a lot of people in my family, I think my grandfather might have instilled that in my mom because he would say the same thing. But she wanted me to do my best, not just good enough. And I will admit, at times that irritated me. But the main thing that I remember about her is the fact that she was there even when I knew she was exhausted. For whatever reason, my mom liked to work nights, and I played baseball. To say that I was average would probably be even an overstatement, but my mom would get off of work at 7 o'clock in the morning. She'd get home. I'd be getting dressed for my baseball game, and she'd take me to the games on Saturday morning, and even sometimes keep the stats. I don't know how accurate those stats were because she was tired, but she was always there. I don't know that she missed many football games in high school, even though after the football game, sometimes she would have to head off and go to work right after the game. But she was there and she was supportive. She supported me. I remember when I went off to high school, went off to college, my original major was pre-med biology. I was going to be a doctor. Well, my first semester of my sophomore year, I decided, this wasn't for me. And it was really hard for me to tell my mother that I wasn't going to be this doctor. And the reason it was hard is because, again, I wanted her to be proud of me. I wanted her to to be able to say that she had her son, the doctor. I remember walking up and telling her, I said, "Mom, I don't want to do this." And the response I got was, "Okay, so what do you want to do?" You see, I had designed my entire being, especially in college, around wanting to do what I thought she wanted me to do. when all it came down to is she wanted me to do my best at whatever it is that I wanted to do. If it wasn't being a doctor, then okay, then don't be a doctor. But what is it you want to do? I'm going to support you in that. And she did. She supported financially as much as she could, and she supported me emotionally and mentally. Now, once again, because we were so different, uh, we would have our times of friction. And then my wife came along, and there were girlfriends I had that she didn't like. And my mother was not shy about vocalizing the fact that there were certain women that she didn't like, but she liked Makeba. And I would later understand that she liked her because they were so similar. Getting those two together, wow, it was challenging to say the least. But then toward the end, her health her health deteriorated. We had our last conversation before she died on Palm Sunday, and probably the best words that she said to me was, and because she knew what was going on, she knew she was dying. She knew that there was a good chance she was not going to get through this latest instance with COVID. And she told me, "I'm proud of you. I am glad of the man that you have become." And that was special because if you look at the text that I read, it talked about the child being the joy of the mother. And that let me know that I had been her joy. I was her only baby. I was the only boy. I was the only child. I mean, she didn't have any more. It was just me. But I truly do and truly did appreciate my mother. Even with the shortcomings and the things that we would butt heads over, faith being one of them at times. My mom was a little bit more progressive in her thought process about faith. But she was indeed a good mother, and she was a blessing to me, and she is missed. But I am glad to have had her. With that, may the Lord bless you and keep you as we go into this Mother's Day. If your mother is still around, give her a hug. Let her know that she is loved and appreciated. And if she's not, honor her memory. God bless you.